your microphone. Alright. In our last video for the night, let's take a look at the standings. Now, Vegas is listed with 0 points. They didn't actually play this past season, so don't panic at the 0 points. The question becomes, who's got better and who's got worse in the offseason? And this shows just how close everybody was. So while in our minds we might say, okay, this team was clearly better than that team, there wasn't that much to give. For instance, Tampa Bay finished with 94 points. They were 1 point behind Toronto and Boston. One more win for Tampa. Toronto and Boston both dropped down. So we'd be talking about Tampa facing Ottawa in the first round, and I said during the run for the Stanley Cup playoffs, if Tampa had got in, I think they would have done a lot of damage. So now in the offseason, I can't see how Montreal qualifies as being improved. I know they picked up Drouin, but losing Markov hurts. Losing Radulov hurts. And I'm not 100% enamored with that blue line right now. Ottawa, I think, has stayed relatively the same. I don't think Ottawa's made up massive ground, but remember, they're only 5 points behind Montreal. Boston, I don't see a major loss or gain for Boston. I think they've stayed relatively the same. I could see them dropping because the Leafs with Marleau, I think, at the very least, if Marleau stays healthy, they're going to get a boost from that. And the Leafs could be early favorites to win the division, if not for the fact that Tampa, I see them improving because if Stamkos is healthy, then they're fine. And Tampa's picking up some depth. They've done some good moves. Florida, I also see Florida improving. Florida's going to improve, I think, because they can't be as bad as they were this past season. And they still got 81 points. They were one game away from 500. We can debate 500 another time. But they were better than we remember. Because we remember them just as a failure all season and all the turmoil. But even with the turmoil, they still had a relatively decent record. Detroit, I just don't see Detroit making any advances this year. Buffalo, I think Buffalo's made the right moves. I'm not saying playoffs for Buffalo. You'll notice 3 teams ahead of them in the division, I believe, are going to get better. So I think this division's going to tighten up quite a bit. I think Detroit could end up being pretty far below everybody else in the division. If they don't straighten things out in Detroit, I think we're going to be seeing the Red Wings going into full rebuild. Washington, you can't, and this is now the Metro Division, you cannot argue Washington's got better. Right now, you can't argue Pittsburgh's got better. I'm waiting to see what Pittsburgh's got in the pipeline because I never count Pittsburgh out anymore. Columbus, I want to say there's no way they can maintain what they did last year. There's no way they can be that good again. But I don't see that they've lost any major contributors to what they've done. I mean, they've lost Hartnell, they've lost Gagne. That hurts their depth, but there's enough young guys, there's enough good players that I think they can make it up. The Rangers, it's tough, but I'm going to have to say they're trending down, only because Lundqvist is another year older, Ronta's out, and Pavlich is now the backup. And Pavlich is not a guy that you want running your team if Lundqvist gets hurt. And it seems like once a year he's getting hurt. And I know they got Shattenkirk. I know that's the guy they wanted. I'm not convinced that their blue line's a lot better. They kept Smith. They signed Shattenkirk. Okay. We'll see. The Islanders, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to put them as staying the same. But again, with the way that other teams are improving, and with the fact that I don't see them being top 3 in the division, the Islanders could have a rough year. They need Tavares. If the rumored 8-year, $80 million contract is accurate, sign it, get it done, and over with. Keep Tavares an Islander. Philly, I think, is going to trend up. Getting Nolan Patrick is huge for Philly. Getting Hischier would have been great, too. Philly now has a blue chip prospect who may be able to step in to start the season, and their blue line's going to get better. Their blue line's going to get a lot better. Carolina's trending in the right direction as well. Carolina decided to pick up all the Hawks scraps, and I think those scraps are going to be enough. On top of the fact that they had a lot of momentum at the end of the year, I think they make the playoffs. I could see the Islanders dropping out. I could see Washington struggling. I'm not going to say dropping out, but struggling. This division, I think, is going to tighten up a lot. You look at the split between first and last, and it was pretty bad. New Jersey's going to get better. Look, they got Hischier at the draft, and they picked up Johansson from New Jersey or from Washington, losing nothing off their roster. There's no way that power play and offense are that anemic next year. Taylor Hall cannot wait to play with Johansson. This is going to be amazing. Or with Hischier. So Jersey just got a lot tougher to play. In the West, it's hard to argue Chicago's better right now. Minnesota, they lose Holla. They lose Tuck. The Pominville deal, yeah, I'll give him an even because I think the Pominville deal helps with that. St. Louis, I just don't think St. Louis has done enough to stop the downward trend that they were in this past season. I know in the playoffs they had a decent run, but that was Jake Allen more than anything else. Nashville, honestly, I think Nashville's on the upswing. And I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm talking about regular season. They were the 16th ranked team out of 16 teams that made the playoffs this past season. All I'm saying here is I think that regular season-wise, they're trending up. I am not talking about the playoffs. So anybody who's going to look at that and say, oh, well, Shannon's picking them to win the Stanley Cup. No, I'm not. We haven't got into Stanley Cup picks, and I don't think I'm getting into it in the summer. I think I'll wait till next spring, just before the playoffs. Do it the way normal people do it. Winnipeg is definitely trending up. Mason is going to be an upgrade for them as a starter. Dallas, I am ecstatic about where Dallas is headed. Colorado has to trend up because Colorado can't trend down from 48 points. They just can't. They have to get at least 60, don't they? Nobody else got below 70 except Vancouver. And Vancouver had to tank quite hard the last 20 games to get to 69 points. They did lose a lot of games. Anaheim, I'll say Anaheim stayed steady. Edmonton, I think Edmonton's moving up. Edmonton is going to trend up because Connor McDavid's another year older. And Edmonton's going to continue getting better. San Jose, losing Marleau hurts, and they've shown some signs that maybe Thornton's getting older, and there's signs there that San Jose is going to have some struggles. And I can't see Brent Burns repeating the year he just had. I can't see any defenseman repeating the year that Brent Burns just had. Calgary, it's hard to say that Hamonic makes them a lot better. He makes them better. I'll say that Calgary stays relatively the same. The Kings, I'm going to put them as well as at the same. I haven't seen the Kings do anything that tells me, yeah, they're going to be back into contendership. I think they could get back into the playoffs. That depends on the other teams in California. I keep waiting for Arizona to get better. Clayton Keller's coming in. They've got a lot of young guns. They have to move up. They have to get better in the regular season. And Vancouver, I see Vancouver as basically the same. So anybody who looked at my Vancouver video about next year where I'm like, oh, look at all these guys they got. This is smart. This is a good move. I'm not saying they're any better. I'm not. They're not any better. But I don't see them as being any worse. And if Colorado improves by a lot and Vancouver stays the same as they were last year, Vancouver could finish 31st overall. Vegas is a giant question mark. So I'm going to put a question mark next to Vegas because they're going to get better than 0 points. But there's no telling where they're going to end up in the grand scheme of things. They don't have to finish 31st overall, and they may not. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know where I'm wrong. You guys always let me know where I'm wrong. And again, this is just right now. And this could change. Definitely trades can change the way that I see this, but this is how I see it. And again, a down arrow next to Pittsburgh doesn't mean I'm saying Pittsburgh's crap. No. I'm saying it's going to be hard for them to get 111 points considering the losses they've had. Washington, I can't see them getting 118 with the losses they've had. And as a result, I could see Columbus being first in the division. Because their attrition, the losses they've suffered with Hartnell and Gagne being the biggest names, I could still see them being there. So this also doesn't measure the amount of loss or gain. This is just where I see teams trending right now. So hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And yeah, so this is how I see things. Let me know how you see things. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you guys again soon.